If you've been following this A Chord a Day beginner guitar challenge, then you've got a number of major and minor chords under your belt. And these two great 60s songs are going to help you work on your chords. They're going to help you work on your chord transitions and just help you improve your playing in general. Now the first song is Massachusetts by the Bee Gees. Now Massachusetts uses 4 chords, G, A minor, C and D. They are really great guitar chords. And if we look at the verse, we're only looking at the verse and the chorus. And the verse looks like this. You can see G, A minor and C. And now A minor and C is probably the bigger challenge because it's one bar with those 2 chords in that bar. So you were playing 2 strums of A minor, 2 strums of C. And then we have 2 bars of G. And we're not only going to play through this, but we're going to look at how to transition between some of those chords. So let's just run through how this verse sounds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Feel I'm going back to Massachusetts. Something's telling me I must go home. Okay, now for this, as I said, we got G, A minor, C, and then G. Now let's look at the transition from A minor to C. How can we make this a little easier? Well, if you look at A minor, there's A minor, and you look at C major, and this is something to kind of look out for when you're working on chord transitions, right? But these 2 chords, these fingers are in common, all right? So you can keep those fingers on the fretboard when you change. So you've got your A minor. All you're going to do now is lift up this finger and then put it on the 3rd fret of the A string. And that gets you there without doing too much work. The only thing that will happen is this finger here will have to slide up a little closer to the 2nd fret before you put the 3rd finger down. And as for going from C to G, well, this is going to be made easier if you're using this version of G, if you're using 4, 3 and 2, because these fingers here are in the kind of same position, the same shape on different strings. So for the C, they're on the 5th and 4th string, the A and D. But then when you play G, you just lift them up, keep the shape, try and keep the shape, and then move them across so that they're now on the 6th string and the 5th string. Obviously, you will take this finger off and put this finger on. So, you see how simpler the change is from G to C, or from C to G. So the second part follows on obviously from the first, and so we've gone, something's telling me I must go home. 3, 4, 1, 2, and the lights all went down in Massachusetts the day I left her standing on her own. So what we've got there is a G, and the lights all went down in Massa C, and this here again is where you're going to need to work on that G to C chord transition. So if you've got G and then you're hopping over to keep that shape, remember, of those 2 fingers, and then put the rest of the C chord down. So that'll make that change a little easier. And of course we've got G to D. Now G to D, is a little bit more tricky. You're going to have to move everything over. But it's not impossible. You'll notice that this finger here, the 2nd finger, it's on the 2nd fret, And then, so when you're going to the D, just lift it up, kind of try and keep it along the fret as you go to the high E string. And then you can put everything else down. And then it would work in reverse, right? So when you take off the D major chord, going back to the G, try and keep the finger flowing across the fretboard at the same fret to get down to the G. So let's have a complete play along of just that part, the feel I'm going back to Massachusetts, something's telling me, and the lights went down, the lights went down, lights went out, the day I left her standing on her own. As for the strumming, now one of my favourite all-purpose strumming patterns is just down, 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 up, down. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. Definitely one of the greatest strumming patterns of all time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Feel I'm going back to Massachusetts. Something's telling me I must go home. And the lights all went down in Massachusetts the day I left her standing on her own. Try to do, and then it just repeats. Now, just something about the rhythm, the strumming pattern. So when you're going from G, you do 1, down, down, up, down, up. Then you've got that half bar of A minor, and then half bar of C. But this hand will still do the same thing. You'll still do 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. The pattern still remains the same. Of course, if it's a little bit tricky for you to do that pattern, if you're still focusing more just on the chord changes, then keep it simple. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. That'll still work really well with this song. Sticking with similar chords, we've got G, D, C, A minor, but now adding a little B minor as well. We're looking at the Beatles' I Feel Fine, a song that was a Christmas hit in 1964, and according to John Lennon, it was the first intentional use of feedback. Now, this has got a great riff, and it's also got a great drumming pattern too, but it's also got probably one of my favourite B-sides, She's a Woman. Now, the intro looks like this. D for 2 bars, C for 2 bars, G for 4 bars. And how we can play this is for the first 6 bars, we're just going to play the first beat of each bar. So it's D, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4. Because doing that, that's what John Lennon plays at the beginning. He plays the riff over those chords, and then the final 2 bars is when the band joins in before the verse begins. Now for the verse, what we're actually going to do is we're going to play a G7 chord. And a G7 chord is a super bluesy chord, and it's what John Lennon plays throughout the verses. Also, the great thing about this verse is there are not any difficult chord changes in terms of, like, for example, like in the other song Massachusetts, we had half a bar of A minor, half a bar of C, but we have here complete bars. Now for strumming, we're going to do this. 1, 2 and 3 and 4, and 1, 2 and 3 and 4, 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, that's what we're going to do. So join me for the verse. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Baby's good to me, you know she's happy as can be, you know she said so. I'm in love with her and I feel fine. Baby says she's mine, you know she tells me all the time, you know she said so. She's in love with me and I feel fine. It's pretty quick, that strumming, isn't it? But it's a good pattern, it's a good solid strumming pattern that you can use with this song. Let's try the middle. This is a little bit tougher because we've now got the B minor coming in. But this is the whole point of learning chords, to play songs and to get better. 4 bars, G, B minor, C, D, and then G, B minor, A minor, D. So each bar is a complete chord. G, B minor, C, D, G, B minor, A minor, D, and then back to the verses. Let's play the verse and the middle. Sorry, the intro, the verse and the middle. Now, especially for that middle, don't panic. You know, if you can't get from the G to the B minor, keep this hand going. Keep your strumming hand going. Okay, so even if it takes you a bit of time to get there, keep the hand going and don't worry about missing the first beat or the second beat, maybe even the third beat, but just keep going. There's no point stopping. You can't stop in the middle of a song. So what we're going to do is we'll play the riff, the intro, 2 verses, and then a middle. In fact, we're probably going to do the whole song really. So intro, verse, verse, middle, verse. 1, 2, 3, 4. D, 2, 3, 4. D, 2, 3, 4. C, 2, 3, 4. C, 2, 3, 4. G, 2, 3, 4. G, 2, 3, 4. G. Baby's good to me, you know she's happy as can be, you know she said so. I'm in love with her and I feel fine. Baby says she's mine, you know she tells me all the time, you know she said so. I'm in love with her and I feel fine. Middle. I'm so glad that she's my little girl. She's so glad she's telling all the world that her baby buys her things, you know. He buys her diamond rings, you know. She said so. She's in love with me and I feel fine. She's in love with me and I feel fine. So that you heard at the end, I repeated the she's in love with me and I feel fine, the D, C and G part there, and I finished on a G7 chord. So both songs use pretty much the same set of chords. B minor for the I Feel Fine tune by the Beatles. Now if you want to check out more songs, go to this here. And thanks for joining me today. Happy strumming.